Welcome to this week's live video. You might think that in the aftermath of the Xi-Trump summit and with multiple U.S.-China official meetings planned in the coming months, that the possibility of global trade war had diminished. You would be wrong, and actions this week by China show that is the case. China is combining both large, dramatic warnings of the dangers of trade frictions with its own protectionist measures at the same time. So earlier this week, on Monday, China Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang warned in a speech that, quote, unilateralism and protectionism are on the rise. The risk of global supply chain fragmentation is growing. That statement by the vice minister was certainly, at least in part, in reaction to last week's announcement by the Group of Seven Nations that going forward by 2030, they wanted to ensure that at least or no more than 60% of their imports of rare earths or critical minerals would come from one single country. And clearly, this is a move aimed to try to diminish their reliance on the absolute dominance that China has in the rare earths and critical minerals area. Beijing, however, also took its own protectionist measures. Also on Monday, China's Ministry of Commerce announced that it was putting dozens of new U.S. entities on its export control list, including 10 defense companies, including drone makers and aerospace firms, as well as 2 key U.S. critical mineral producers. The two rare earth producers are MP Materials and U.S. Rare Earth, and they are both key planks or key players in the U.S. attempt to try to break its reliance on China for rare earths. So what does that mean? Those companies being put on the export control list, and why was that taken now? First of all, it bans Chinese exporters from shipping items to those companies that can be used for both commercial and military purposes. And this move very likely in response to the Pentagon earlier this month adding key tech Chinese companies to its list of those companies, Chinese companies that are suspected or believed to be aiding the Chinese defense industry. Some of those very important Chinese tech companies that were added to the list included Baidu, electric vehicle giant BYD, and Alibaba. We heard back from one of them this week. Alibaba sued the Department of Defense in a court in San Jose earlier this week, demanding that it be taken off the list and saying that the designation that was announced on June 8th has, quote, no basis in fact or law. Finally, 2 more related pieces of news. China's legislatures this week continued reviewing a bill that would, when it takes effect, which could happen later this year, would put new restrictions or provide new tools to Chinese prosecutors to punish organizations, individuals, and companies that follow anti-sanction laws against China and do other things that are deemed not in the interest of China. Just today, in Beijing media, the state papers, including the Global Times, accused European Union officials of, quote, a lack of sincerity in the run-up to trade talks. Those are scheduled to happen Monday between the EU trade minister and China's trade counterpart, Wang Wentao. The Global Times said, quote, there were multiple examples of the EU showing no sincerity in addressing issues of China's concerns, which include possible EU efforts to limit Chinese electric vehicles on the continent. Um, that is it for this week. Tune in later when I'm back with the next live video. Thanks.